So, this is a no-bullshit guide on how I play and mod the new Mushroom Warframe Nokko. First, I would like to discuss the basics, beginning with how his abilities works. If you like straightforward and informative guides like this, then please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much, and let's start this guide with Nokko's abilities. His first ability is called Stink Brain. What this skill does is throw a mushroom that will inflict viral damage and its status effect per pulse. The pulse is per 3 seconds, but you can invigorate the it by casting his ultimate skill. Once you do this, the Spore Spring skill will bounce on the Stink Brain mushroom, doubling its pulse rate. This means that you deal twice the viral damage, and you also apply the status faster. Another good trait about this skill is that it puts enemies to sleep. Think of it as Baruch's lull ability, but better since the sleep mechanic is better, and you can use 3 active Stink Brain at a time. This is great for crowd control, and as well as increasing the damage you dealt with Spore Spring. The second skill is called Bright Bonnet, and this makes you a better Rhino in my opinion. It provides huge power strength buff if you got lots of power strength in your build. Not to mention that it also gives you energy per pulse, and like Stink Brain, it gets invigorated by Spore Spring, increasing its pulse rate. What I usually do at the start of the mission is cast 2 Bright Bonnet, then use Spore Spring to double its pulse rate. After that, it's just throwing mushrooms and watching enemies die with Spore Spring. His third skill is called Reroute, and this will turn you into Sprodling. In Sprodling form, you are undetected, and by the way, this is a great skill in Spy Mission, as not only you are undetected by enemies, but you also bypass lasers and cameras, making Nokko a good spy warframe. But if you are using Avara mainly for spies, then Nokko's third skill is a perfect slot for Helminth builds. And the best Helminth I can recommend so far is Roar, that increases the power strength of your Spore Spring skill. Then, his ultimate is called Spore Spring, which is a bouncing mushroom that deals increased lethality per bounce. You can have 3 maximum projectiles of Spore Spring active in the field, and this skill is nuts, since it increases its critical chance per bounce. Basically, it's a flat critical add-on, and the final bounces will guarantee red crit numbers. Now, Nokko's passive is insane, as it gives you immortality. The trick here is pretty simple. Just make sure that you have active mushroom all the time with Nokko. When you receive a fatal hit, you turn into Sprodling for a couple of seconds, and you need to reach one of your mushrooms to revive Nokko. And get this, you will have 5 seconds of invulnerability, making it more reliable survivability skill. Also, since Nokko is a superb caster warframe, and we can deal massive damage just by using his 4th skill, we can pair this warframe with either Huras Kubro or the Shade Sentinel. Preferably, I like the Shade Sentinel since it's always close to my warframe and not roaming around the map like the Kubros. With Shade, you can use the Ghost mod exclusive for this Sentinel to make you invisible most of the time, as long as there are enemies within 24 meters range. With the invisibility of Shade, the immortality trick of Nokko's passive will just be a backup once your invisibility fails, as there are no enemies left in the area. Finally, let's talk about the build I'm currently using. Currently I'm using a Raw build for Nokko, but you can use the same setup for non-Helminth builds. The main idea for this build is to increase the power strength of Nokko, so that Spore Spring will deal more damage. Now, natural talent is not needed, especially if you are using Shade, but I have it for quality of life, since I find the throw animation of mushrooms kind of slow. In fact, I also have 1 yellow Tau Forged shard in my Archon system for the casting speed. But again, it's not necessary, and you can go full red Tau Forged Archon shard for that extra power strength boost. I also added range in the build with Augur Reach and Stretch, so that the radius of Bright Bonnet will be bigger, enough to support my teammates with energy and power strength buff. It's also good for Stink Brain so that it can affect more area with the viral damage and status procs. Range is also good for Spore Spring as it increases the explosion radius. And it's super good when enemies are close together, allowing you to wipe a crowd with your ultimate easily. Then, I added Growing Power for more power strength, and primed Sure-Footed to negate any knockdown effects. By the way, this Prime mod is not necessary, and you can always use other mods in the Exilis mod. And for the arcanes, I always go with Arcane Crepuscular and Molt Augmented. The latter is pretty straightforward, as it grants a maximum of 60% more power strength, while Arcane Crepuscular is an awesome addition to this build, as it pairs well with Shade's Ghost skill. The invisibility provided by Shade does proc the effect of Arcane Crepuscular, increasing not only the power strength of Nokko, but also adding the final critical damage multiplier of the Arcane to his Spore Spring ability. In Mission, all you really need to do is first cast 2 Bright Bonnet, then Spore Spring to gain energy. After that, cast Stink Brain, then Spore Spring again. Just rinse and repeat, then just watch enemies die with your puffy bouncing mushrooms. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video helps.